This is The Lion, KHNC 1360 AM, Johnstown, Denver.
Randy Yarbrough here with you this Wednesday, March the 5th, the year 2014 of my Lord and Savior, the Lord and Savior, Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. There is no King but King Jesus. The thing that hath been is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. All been done before. We just change the actors on the stage, the technology and the terminology change a little, but oh well, we'll just continually repeat the mistakes of history over and over and over and over and over again, never ever seeming to learn. So, since there's nothing really new going on, a few housekeeping notes. National conference call for the Farmers Norm, National Organization for Raw Materials, and anybody else out there that wants an honest money system. We got a plan. It's been done before. It worked very well. It just didn't really benefit the bankers. So, call and join in with us. Find out more. Every Saturday and Tuesday at 5 p.m. Mountain, 7 Eastern, 6 Central, and 4 Pacific. You can call and join in with us at 712-432-0926. 712-432-0926, conference number 123462. 123462. Also want to thank First Amendment Radio at firstamendmentradio.com for rebroadcasting us up over their satellite and internet network. We thank all those listeners out there at firstamendmentradio.com. Also want to thank all the listeners and the folks at Geo Media Network.com, rebroadcasting us every weeknight, 8 p.m. Mountain Time, and other times also, so check it out. The schedule at geomedianetwork.com. What else we got? Oh, well, okay, yeah. We'll be celebrating all of these 81 years of national emergency. And so we'll just throw this in as Public Law 313 from April 14th of 1952. Whereas the existing state of war with Japan is the last declared state of war to which the United States is a party, and the termination thereof and of the national emergencies proclaimed in 1931 and 1939 and 41 would render certain statutory provisions inoperative. And whereas some of these statutory provisions are needed to ensure the national security and the capacity of the United States to support the United Nations in its efforts to establish and maintain world peace. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with my guest, Kimmy Lewis, here on the American Freedom Network. My guest today, Kimmy Lewis, out there in the south, down here in southeastern Colorado, standing up against, she stood up against the Army and the landowners out there and the ranchers stood up and backed the Army down. But now we have another juggernaut coming to declare 8 counties in southeastern Colorado as national heritage areas. And this is all trickling down from the United Nations and Agenda 21. And it's coming to your front door, folks. So listen up. Kimmy Lewis, welcome.
Well, thank you, Randy, and good afternoon. I'm honored to be asked to be on this afternoon.
Well, we've got to get the word out because it's not just southeastern Colorado. Well, basically, they would just like to take over the whole state and move everybody into their little cubicles in the city.
Well, we sure have had our work cut out for us here in southeast Colorado just because, well, we're not real sure. There must be something down here they really want to control or get a hold of because, the Army tried to expand Pinyon Canyon Maneuver Site. They took over the first 285,000 acres back in 1983, and then came back again. They kind of let it slip at a meeting in 2004. They really started aggressively coming at us again in 2006. It's now 2014, and supposedly they're backing off. I don't believe it for a minute. I believe that they have continued to work, and they still have expansion plans in their minds. But on the sideline now, we're going to be fighting to save our private property rights here in southeast Colorado because a national heritage area is being proposed. And yes, you're right, Randy. It's not just Colorado. It will be they just keep going west and skipped over a few states where they've fought them off, but it's still a battle. And this will be one of the biggest battles we've ever had.
Yes. And this, okay, what exactly is a national heritage area? I mean...
Well, a national heritage area is designated by Congress as places where natural, cultural, and historic resources combine to form a nationally important landscape. So it's just a bunch of their really goody two-shoe words, their buzzwords to say, hey, we want control over this area. And that's what it is. It has to be designated by Congress, and they can actually put that over the top of us without us voting, without a lot of outrage. They swear up and down it's a grassroots thing, but basically all of the scheming, all of the planning has been this one little organization called Canyons and Plains, and they brought it to the forefront, and now they have partners, and those partners and them, they are doing everything they can to get this into place.
Let's see. National heritage areas span public and private lands, encompassing walled areas, historic sites, businesses, community centers, and residential populations. There are 49 national heritage areas in the United States today.
And there's 3 in Colorado already. They want to make this one of the largest here in the southeast corner. And incidentally, this is the exact area, Randy, the same area that they were looking at to expand for Pinyon Canyon Maneuver Site. So here we are again. It's still Agenda 21. It was Agenda 21 then because of the Army's partnership with the Nature Conservancy. And, of course, the Nature Conservancy is one of the partners in this. They want to control all of us. And, yes, it will be businesses, towns, people that have houses in town, and farms and ranches here in a very rural area of southeast Colorado.
And like you said, we're trying to figure out exactly why do they want this area so bad?
Oh, I still believe, Randy, and I've said this before, I think it has a lot to do with the minerals. Colorado is chock full of minerals, and if we could ever get us any kind of elected officials to want to drill something, I think we'd find out what all's here.
Yes. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. And we're back. Kimmy Lewis, my guest, fighting against this, expansion of Pinyon Canyon and, being able to hang on to her Family Heritage and Ranch down here in southeastern Colorado, and to defend your private property rights, folks. Kimmy, how can the folks find out more?
Well, we have a Facebook page up and running, Randy. Just type in Southeast Colorado Private Property Rights Council, and you'll get information about what's going on here for the this heritage area. And we continue to add and change what's on there as it's updated. We have actually, the Southeast Colorado Private Property Rights Council has just sent a FOIA in the last few days, Freedom of Information Act, to the Department of Interior, the National Park Service, because that's really who we're fighting here. That's the agency, Randy, that will have control over Southeast Colorado, will be the National Park Service. And so we need the information as to how far along they are on this and what type of rules and what type of regulations they're going to put into this heritage area. And incidentally, what happens in a heritage area is some committee, a committee of, I think it's 14 people, decide what you can or can't do on your property. So in other words, it's okay for me to pay my taxes on my ranch and be out here. In fact, I just got in here a little bit ago from feeding cows and had a cow and a calf with a problem, and had to get in here so I could get on the phone and talk to you all this afternoon. But this is what we do. We live out here because we like it out here. We don't want it to change, and we want people to leave us alone, but we just can't do that. They're just staying after us. And but our newest group is the Southeast Colorado Private Property Rights Council. And so if you go to that Facebook page, we'll have more details to come as we get a website and go on from there.
Okay, but well, here let's see. This is a letter in the Pueblo Chieftain, and it says national heritage areas are designated by Congress.
Uh-huh.
They are not National Park Service units, nor do they create any land use restrictions. Rather, their designation creates a framework of locally driven conservation, preservation, tourism, and economic development efforts, and heightens awareness of the significant natural and cultural resources present within the area.
Yeah, they lie. And this is the spin that they tell us. I don't know, about 10 years ago, I was on a radio talk show with Derry Brownfield. I don't know if you ever remember him. And that was back, Randy, do you remember when we fought the animal ID, the NAIS?
Yes.
And I was on that talk show, and he says, well, Kimmy, what do you think needs to happen? And I said, well, I think the whole U.S. Department of Agriculture needs an enema. They need a thorough cleansing. And about that time, I think he about fell off the stool. But I tell you, we are going to get to the point in this country where we just have to start saying no and make it completely, make it a strong no, to where people know that, hey, these people mean business. We don't need government telling us what to do. And even though the people from Canyons and Plains, this Mr. Manzanares, he swears up and down, has nothing to do with the Park Service, that is not truthful. It's all about the National Park Service. It's all Agenda 21. This is like a playbook out. This is out of their playbook. And Agenda 21, we didn't get to vote on that either, Randy. Congress and the Senate didn't get to vote on it. It just was implemented, put into place. And here we are in 2014, and now we're fighting a national heritage area in the same area where we've been fighting to keep our land. And I think they thought people would just go to sleep now. They thought that the Army was going to back off, so we would just take a deep breather for about a year or two and wake up one of these days and we would have the Southeast Colorado National Heritage Area.
Yes. But it's for your good, Kimmy. I mean, these people must know something, or is it they're being funded with an agenda.
Well, the agenda is already there. They just don't want people to know the agenda. So that's why we have to get their documents, and we have to fight them with their own documents. And I'll guarantee that in their feasibility study, it will state in there about this committee, and it will talk about the National Park Service. We have document on top of document that shows the National Park Service is all about the heritage areas. I mean, it's their biggest program. They love this whole idea because they don't have to own the land to control it.
Yes.
And that's what they want to do, is control us. See, the Nature Conservancy was trying to get as many conservation easements as they could in southeast Colorado, and they have gotten a few, but they haven't gotten the number that they're really wanting. So now they can partner up with these other this Canyons and Plains and the Rocky Mountain Bird Observatory, as well as Rocky Mountain Farmers Union, and they can, with the Palmer Land Trust also, and they can come together and they can think, wow, we'll put it in a heritage area, and then everybody will want to get a conservation easement. It'll make everybody feel, wow, we're special now.
We're special now, yes.
I think we live in a special place, and I've always thought that. But you know what? Cell phones don't work out here. We don't get mail delivered out here. We like it the way it is. I've had different ladies tell me, how do you live like that? What if you break down? Well, you walk in, and I walked in 1 3/4 miles today because the pickup quit me over there in the Gap, and that's just part of life here. And thank our good Lord that the snow wasn't blowing sideways, and it was a nice warm day, and I had time to think about what I was going to tell you this afternoon.
And there's also another group in on this, and it's the Gates Family Foundation, which is not Bill Gates, folks. It's the Gates Rubber right down there off of Broadway. They're in Denver.
Yeah. And they have donated the first $390,000, and some of these groups then ended up getting some of that money, and so now they've hired staff, and they've rented an office right next to Congressman Gardner's office. I think that's interesting that it takes Congress to put a heritage area into place, but yet when they decide to rent an office building, and there's open space, open offices all over southeast Colorado, especially in the Arkansas Valley, but they get one right next to Congressman Gardner's. I think that's interesting that would happen in that way.
Yes.
And then to find out that we've actually found out other things about Congressman Gardner, that he has already been to had a staffer state that he's in favor of a heritage area, so we just have a lot of work to do, but our county commissioners are hearing from us. We are getting a hold of people that own businesses. We are spreading the word, and we're working this chapter by chapter, which is county by county. We're establishing the Southeast Colorado Private Property Rights Council in each county so that county can do their work and educate people. You'd be surprised, Randy, how many people do not know what Agenda 21 is. They've never heard of it.
Well, and that is as planned because, well, the mainstream media won't talk about it.
No. In fact, I was in Trinidad last week and had to get my tires rotated, and I bought the set of tires in Trinidad, which is 100 miles from my house. But I bought the set of tires there and had them rotated. And I was visiting with the owner of the big old store there, and I said, well, sir, we're selling these Agenda 21 books. The Republican women are here in Los Animas County. Would you like to buy one? He said, well, what's Agenda 21? I said, well, you know, the smart growth, heritage areas, all those things, byways, all these things that are coming at us that we have to fight against. He says, well, I've never heard of Agenda 21. And what's a national heritage area? So it is just amazing to me that we're having to educate people just as fast as we can on Agenda 21, because it is here. It is here, and if you don't think it's going to happen to you and your private property rights, blink your eyes, because tomorrow you need to be worrying about it because they're going to take away your rights, your ability to make a living. And we have no idea what here in southeast Colorado. Evidently, it's something really special, like I said, because they want it bad.
Well, even to the point of under FOIA, when you guys were fighting Pinyon Canyon, and some of the documents in there, you had memos circulating around the Pentagon that they were, well, you know, we want another 300,000 acres, 400,000 acres. But we really want 7 million acres.
Yes, and thank goodness for the group called Not One More Acre that actually found out that it really was a 7 million acre land grab, and that there was the document called Pinyon Vision. There was just documents on top of documents. The first little leaked map that I exposed. That we exposed was just the beginning, Randy, of that whole complex issue and all the planning, all the behind-the-doors planning for our area. But you know what? When people wake up and realize that they're mapped into something, it usually gets people out of the recliner. And I'm hoping it will on this instance.
Well, and the folks right there, right around, Fort Collins and Larimer County and Boulder County and all through there, they're the powers that be, the city council, I think the county commissioners and all this, they're all gaga on Fort Collins being the jewel of Agenda 21.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't doubt it. I had 2 children graduate from Colorado State University, one in Fort Collins and one in Pueblo. And I'm telling you what, I still get his alumni little flyers from CSU, and it is one of the greenest pieces of literature I get. I mean, it's just chock full of ideas, and they just push that agenda and push it. And I don't know how much money they get to do all that, but I know back whenever we fought NAIS, CSU, Colorado State University, got $5 million from our own U.S. Department of Agriculture to help implement NAIS. Well, I don't know what they did with their $5 million other than put out propaganda, but it's just hard telling the money that's changing hands and what's really gone on. So that's why it's so important that we stay after them, Randy, and get that FOIA sent. And of course, I was a student of Fred Kelly Grant from the old stewards of the range, and he said you always send a copy to Department of Justice as well. And so Justice knows that we have FOIA'd the Department of Interior and the National Park Service, and we want the documents. It's supposed to be open records. Let's get them out, and let's get them here.
Absolutely. And not redacted.
Yeah. For sure. Well, I tell you what, it's just unreal the fights that we've had. But I'm just really getting impressed with a lot of my young neighbors. I actually have just a few young ranchers. There aren't a lot in southeast Colorado, but I'm gathering up as many as I can because it is their heritage. It is this land will be where they make their living, and it's so important that we gather in these young people and we get them educated because, this is what, battle number 3 or 4 for me, and it doesn't surprise me at all. And I could see this heritage area thing coming. I don't know if you remember back, Randy, when you came to a Good Neighbor Forum in La Junta, Colorado.
Yeah.
I could not get that in the press. I paid the ads. We paid the ads for it, but we could not get the paper to write a decent article about our upcoming forum. And then when it was over with, they did a real sad job on it. And so here we are today. This is what we're fighting.
Here we are. 877-254-7524. Question, comment, phone lines are open. And we're back. Kimmy Lewis, my guest today talking about Agenda 21 and what's going on down here in southeast Colorado. You can go to their Facebook page, Southeast Colorado Private Property Rights Council. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Well, I wrote it down right, I guess. Southeast Colorado Private Property Rights Council. Phone lines are open, 877-254-7524. Agenda 21 and the smart growth and sustainability and all this happening up in Cheyenne, happening in Fort Collins, Boulder, well, folks, they plan to tell you where you're going to live, what you're going to do, how you're going to use your quote, private property. And we do have a caller. Who we got?
This is Brian in Loveland.
Hello, Brian.
Hello.
Go ahead.
I have two questions, and I'll take my answers off the air. But first being, how do we go about acquiring a lawful title on our lands? And wouldn't that then make all of this kind of moot? And also, how has anyone challenged the constitutionality of this or Agenda 21, really, because the Constitution only allows for the federal government to own 10 square miles?
Well, as far as the constitutionality of it, the way they're going about this is, well, we don't own it. We just tell you what you can do on it. And
But wouldn't a lawful title cure that?
well, a lawful title is there's only one state that I know it's written into their constitution, and that's Wisconsin. But if you've listened to any of the shows I've done with Harmon Taylor and his research into the property issue, that we really don't have private property. Once we went down and we said, here, register us up, and state, county, and we'll grant you a ownership interest. Because if you don't pay your property taxes, well, you don't own your land anymore. So, Kimmy, you've been on private property rights for RCAF and
Yes.
and independent cattle growers and
Yes, and Brian's onto something there. You should search your title, find out everything you can about your land, and research it, and get a patent on your land. And I believe that's kind of what you're talking about. Is that right, Randy?
well, yeah, a lawful title, in the law dictionaries and stuff, is basically land in fee simple.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's folks out there selling packages that, well, I wouldn't pay the money to. But, Brian, research your land, go down to the courthouse, and go all the way back, because there was an original land patent issued on your chunk of land. And
you need to do the same thing with the water, too, Brian. And it just takes a lot of time. I have a good friend, actually, Maxine Corman, still sits on the RCAF board, RCAF USA, and she is phenomenal in that, about getting that ready. She believes that it'll fight off everything that comes at us. With this heritage area, they just actually place it over the top of us. They don't want our land and fee title. They don't want to own it. They just want to tell us what we can do with it.
Right.
In other words, right here where I live, my problem is I live on a highway, Highway 109, south of La Junta, intersects my ranch, and they'll send out 500 bicycle riders, and then they'll say, oh, look there, there's a petroglyph, Or, oh, look there, that looks like an old wagon trail through that canyon over there. And with this heritage area, that committee could decide to let people on my land whether I want them or not. So it's just like it's a designation from hell, and it's not going to be good for any of us and for our private property rights. And we'll just have to fight it, and other people will throw their hands up. I know how people in agriculture are, and Los Animas County is where I live, and the median age of people in agriculture here is 58 years old. I mean, I'm not quite there yet, but I'm getting close. And a lot of the older people, they'll just throw their hands up and say, well, this is just the new way, and they just don't fight it. But some of us still have a little fight left in us, and we just don't need this placed over the top of us at all.
Yeah. Did we, you still there, Brian?
Yeah, still here.
You know, constitutionally, I don't know. Well, Kimmy, how do these organizations, Canyon and Plains, and all these, that they think they have some kind of a right?
They do it through economic development, Randy. They group themselves together, swearing up and down that they're doing it for the good, and that's what they put on paper, that it's for an economic boost. And that's how they're trying to sell this. Of course, they lie about the National Park Service having anything to do with it. That's just a bull-faced lie. But the rest of it is they tell you that they're doing it to help the economy in a depressed area. In fact, the notes from the staffer for Congressman Gardner said that it would give Southeast Colorado more exposure. Well, we don't want exposure. We want people to leave us alone so we can produce what we produce and in agriculture, and leave us alone and keep all the regulations away and all of these little committees that people aren't going to have a clue as to what we're doing, and we need them to leave us alone.
Well, I would guess that they would, if it came to it in a court battle or something, they'd try to, Congress is always going to do the fallback to the general welfare clause, that they've bastardized.
Well,
and you may be right.
Well, okay, this is a taking.
It is a taking.
Under the Fifth Amendment.
Yeah, and it's getting us right back to the shootout in the OK Corral, because I tell you what, they're taking something that we have, and we don't want to get rid of it. And that's why back in the Pinyon Canyon battle, Randy, if you remember, that non-willing seller affidavit, it came right from this old ranch house right here in this office. We just made affidavits, and it said right there we were not for sale. We're not for sale to the Army, and it's the same thing. It's a taking.
Thank you.
Stay with us, Brian.
No, I'll just listen. Thanks.
We'll be right back. And we're back. Phone lines are open, 877-254-7524. Question or comment for my guest, Kimmy Lewis. You can find out more about the Southeast Colorado Private Property Rights Council on Facebook. Southeast Colorado Private Property Rights Council. And, well, I'm kind of hitting on this, folks, this Agenda 21 and the climate hubs and the climate action plan and all this stuff, because what you're getting ready to face, we're all getting ready to face, a green police state. They're going to come at you through the environment, through the climate. Well, let's see. We're going to have to test your wood stove there. And, it's too many particulates. Too bad, so sad. Tear it out. and go buy you a new one for about $6,000. Agenda 21, it's coming to your doorstep. They want to control everything you do. There will be no backyard gardens without, well, you know, permits and licenses, and pay the fee, and then pay the bureaucrat to come make sure you're in compliance. Yes. So, Kimmy, the private property out there, I mean, if you decided, you know, or your neighbor decided, I want to break my ranch up into 100-acre tracts and sell it off, and what we'll do is you can fence off 5 acres, and the rest of it stays in grazing, and, well, populate the area out here in southeast Colorado.
You can't do it. You can't do it in a heritage area because they want it the way it was. When it goes into a heritage area, it has to be left like it was. I have an old homestead right over here by the highway, and I'll guarantee if I wanted to put a bright pink roof on that homestead, a tin roof, after this heritage area would go through, that committee would say, you can't do that. You have to put it back, put that old tin back on there, and leave it just like it was. That could be one of their rules that they say that you have to do. And so what happens to my private property rights? I bought the land, I paid the taxes, and if I want to put a pink roof on there, I think I should be allowed to put a pink roof on there. That's why we live out here where we do. I don't live in town to where the neighbors can complain about the color of the roof or whatever else I want to do. But in a heritage area, it would all have to stay scenic and look like it is, like old-time heritage area, so that the tourists would come and spend their money in these little towns and that they think that are going to come and save us. But what will happen is the economy will dwindle because small business isn't going to be able to thrive because they're going to be telling small business in Rocky Ford or Swink or Lahana what they can or can't do. And then it'll be just like this business here. It'll dry up and go away.
Well, instead of doing what they should be doing, and as far as agriculture, because we're talking about the major industry of all of this area, southeastern Colorado.
We're talking about 8 counties, the very 8 counties in the very southeast corner of Colorado, yes.
And the major industry is agriculture.
By far. The 2 sale barns in Lahana Livestock and Winter Livestock, generate more money, sell a huge amount of cattle. This is like one of the hubs of cattle sales in the United States of America, and agriculture is our basis, and it will always be our base. And when we start worrying about trying to get bikers out here or people to come out here and see something, it will not be good. I mean, we just want to be left alone and be able to produce. I mean, I'm a cow-calf producer. I take care of the mama cows and raise calves, get them up to around 7, 8 months old, and then I sell them, and that's how I pay my bills, and that's how I pay my taxes, and that's how we keep these small communities going. We put 6 children through Kim's school, which is 30 miles to my south of me, and this is how we keep these communities going. It isn't through hoping that some tourist is going to come along and save my ranch. I have to produce something. I have to do that every year. And it's just like that cow and that calf over there in the canyon this afternoon. We have to save that calf because every one counts with all the expenses that we've had in this drought that we've been fighting. We have to, and we know that it's important, and we just can't mess around. We have to go take care of that calf. So my daughter is on a horse right now, and she went to go gather that cow, and my husband Marty went to go gather the calf in the pickup and bring it in. So instead of these pushing blue sky, pie in the sky plans and tourists and bikers and all this,
Instead, they ought to be going to the USDA and saying, now look, here's the mandate for the Secretary of Agriculture that you supply the marketplace.
Yes.
The farmers receive parity.
Yes, and that's true. They should be helping us to get a good price for what we do produce, Randy. You are right. But instead, they're coming up with all these other ways, and more than likely, most of the closed-door meetings of economic development go that way, and it's sad that it does, but they're not working with us, they're not helping us, they're working against us, and little by little the ranchers are going away, and with this drought in southeast Colorado, too, that we've had since the year 2000, there's a lot of ranchers that are quite a bit older than I am that will not buy their cattle back. The cattle are gone, they've sold the cattle, and they're still there, they still own the land but right now, but they won't rebuy back, and there's going to be a huge change, and these people know that. These people have been scheming and planning, and there's a reason why they're coming after us right after this funding ban was dropped by the Army, and that supposedly the Army's backing off, which is another smoke and mirrors type thing, and there's a reason why it's happening now. I believe that they're hurrying to get this designated in case they want President Obama to do it with his pen before it's all done.
And we're back. 877-254-7524. Question, comment for my guest, Kimmy Lewis. You can find out more at Southeast Colorado Private Property Rights Council. Southeast Colorado Private Property Rights Council. We talk about private property, Kimmy, and under the emergency that's been going on for 81 years now, did we lose our private property back there, or just that we have not stood up for it?
Well, I believe that we haven't been standing up for it. I believe that these people wouldn't be here in southeast Colorado right now and doing the things they're doing to us in Colorado if we would have let them know, hey, we're not going to put up with this. Everyone has tried to be politically correct for too long, and that time is over. We don't have time for that anymore. And if you step on somebody's toes, every time I go to give a speech or something, I intend to step on somebody's toes. I probably haven't done my job if I haven't, because you cannot be politically correct anymore. You have to say it like it is. You have to get the truth out there. I kind of chuckled. I was at the state capitol in Colorado about 3 weeks ago for the Colorado Independent Cattle Growers Legislative Day, and one of the state representatives walked in, and he looked around the room, and right away he recognized me because I had made a trip over to Cortez 2 years in a row as the president for the cattle growers. And he says, well, I'm such and such, and I'm sorry I don't know any of you, but I know that lady because none of us will ever forget her with the speech that she gave us. And what they were trying to do was they were all going to, in Southwest cattle growers, they were going to start selling calves in order to get enough money. They wanted all the ranchers to donate calves to get this huge fund, this huge pot of money put together to help fight for their private property rights. And I just stood up, I said, well, you can get all the money together that you want, and you can hire all the attorneys that you want, but you might as well just throw it out the window. Use something like coordination. And I brought them to coordination. In fact, some of those people then followed me back over the hill over here in Trinidad, came to a training for coordination. But, yes, people just don't understand, and they haven't been standing up for their private property rights, and we just can't be politically correct anymore. I'll guarantee President Obama isn't politically correct. He has got his agenda, and it's full board, and it will be until he gets out of office, and his pen scares me to death.
Well, he could do just the same thing that Clinton did over in Utah with Escalante, and just declare this whole area down through here a national heritage area, turn it over to the Park Service.
Yes, he
He
could put it into a park with a signage of his pen, and I'm worried that he'll be like Clinton on steroids. It concerns me greatly.
And because he has nothing to lose now.
No, and he already knows he's had more designations. He's done that more than any president so far, and I assume he's very proud of that. I guess that he must be. I'm not sure, but we have to stand up and we have to voice our opinions. And people say, "Oh, there's nobody out there. Nobody's out there." I don't agree with that at all. There's people everywhere. They just need information. They need to realize that they can stand up and say that word no.
Right back after the news. Stay tuned here on the American Freedom Network. And we're back with the second hour after Free America here on the American Freedom Network. And we still need your help, folks. PBS is out there begging for dollars, pushing their agenda of, well, evolution. Yes. You crawled out of the swamp. We said so on PBS. It's true. So, call Michael, 800-205-6245. 800-205-6245. You can make a pledge on your plastic, order a copy of today's shows, past shows we've done, other shows here on the network. That helps us out. You can pick up that envelope and address it to AFN, P.O. Box 1750. P.O. Box 1750, Johnstown, Colorado. Federal Occupation Zone 80534. Your check, your money order, much appreciated. We'll even still take the fraudulent reserve notes. Other currencies, sure, throw them in if you got them. You could even throw in some just weights and measures, the Lord's money, at the very least. Tell your friends and family. Tune in, 1360 a.m. on the Internet at America News Net, AmericaNewsNet.com, and call the advertisers, folks. Let them know you're out there, you're listening, and you appreciate their support. It only takes a second to jot their number down and give them a call. My guest today, Kimmy Lewis, rancher, watchwoman on the wall, crusader for your private property rights, talking about Agenda 21, and it's coming to your front door in this national heritage area. They want to take over 8 counties down here in southern Colorado. You can find out more on their Facebook page at Southeast Colorado Private Property Rights Council. Southeast Colorado Private Property Rights Council. Question or comment, phone lines are open, 877-254-7524. 877-254-7524. You mentioned your cow-calf operation, our cow herd, our population of cattle in this country now is down to 1951-2 levels, the lowest it's been since then. How do we, if we continue on this route of putting the ranchers out of business, how do we plan to feed ourselves, Kimmy?
Well, that's part of the plan, Randy, is I believe that the huge plan is that you would eat foreign food. They don't want you to eat anything nutritious or anything that's locally grown. They certainly don't want you eating any USA beef. we've fought so hard to even keep our beef labeled, and which is ridiculous because everybody wants to know where their food comes from. All consumers want to know that. But yes, it's very hard. The numbers, cow numbers are down, and everything costs so much. And that was my comment. A lot of these people have sold out because of drought. If they were to get a lot of moisture to replace the animals that they've already sold, it's just real expensive right now. So most people are not going to try to buy replacement heifers or replace them. It's just we're kind of at an impasse here. We're at a crossroads, and we need good moisture to come. But it's just really tough right now, and everything in agriculture costs so much. I would have never believed that you could spend $8,000 for a load of hay or $11,000 for a load of cake, cottonseed cake. It's just all big money anymore. It isn't like it used to be, and that wasn't very many years ago. One of the things that I wanted to talk about before we get off the show here today, Randy, is endangered species. One of the things that I'm really concerned about this National Heritage Area and where they're going is to find an endangered species and keep us from producing. And if you're in a heritage area and they know that species is on you, or that you've had a lot of them and then they're not there, or they thought they should be there, they can pretty well shut you down. One of the documents that's out there's a new group called the Purgatory Partnership. Actually, it's in Trinidad, I guess, but there's a purgatorypartnership.org you can go to, and it has this new watershed draft plan of the Purgatory, and of course the Purgatory River runs right down through Piñon Canyon Maneuver Site from Trinidad, down through the little community of Higbee and on down to Los Animas. But in that it's chock full of species of concern. And then if you'll remember, throughout the Piñon Canyon battle, one of the things that they were looking for was endangered species. In fact, I'm looking at an old Denver Post, June of 2007, where they titled it Taking Stock of Species. 3 of the species they were concerned down here in southeast Colorado were the swift fox, the triploid whiptail, which is a kind of a lizard, and then wheel dwarf milkweed. Those 3 species they were concerned. But in this Purgatory Partnership, this watershed plan, oh my goodness, there's like 20 different species that they have listed, and it's just unreal. They're all concerned about this, and here we are again. These people that they are honoring, and all they can think about is some little species rather than just honoring our good Lord who made all the species. I mean, he made man, but he also made all the little critters and all the plants and all the animals. And, we should worship and pay homage to our Lord and Savior, but not to some prairie dog or some swift fox or some lizard that they're worried about no longer being here anymore. And it's that I'm afraid that's where we're headed. And with this heritage area, it very well could be that that's what they're going to be looking for.
Yes, then they shut it all off.
Then they just shut it down.
We've proven, the whole spotted owl fiasco in Washington and Oregon, that was all based on fraud.
Yes, and I have a neighbor lady who her family came from California, and evidently one time there was a young grad student that asked the grandmother if he could go stay in a cabin and stay in a cabin and just enjoy it for 2 or 3 weeks. Come to find out, he had been taking surveys and finding these species, and it all tied into the owl.
Tom Phillips are going to a vitamin store and finding.
And we're back. 877-254-7524. Question, comment, Phone lines are open for my guest, Kimmy Lewis, talking about Agenda 21. It's coming to your front door, folks. And the more you know about it, the more you look, the more you find out about it, and the more you stand up, we can put a stop to this. But, well, they're just going to decide that you living in your house there on a lot there in Evans or Greeley or Fort Collins, that, well, that's just wasted space. To tear that down and move you into the little 200 square foot cubicle here we have designed for you. Yes. We've got a caller. Who we got?
This is Bonnie up in Fort Collins.
Hello, Bonnie.
I'm one of the holdouts on the smart meters up here, so I know what you guys are going through. We're just going through something else, and I'm from farm family way back in Iowa for years and years and years. But the reason for my call is I've been trying to get an old program, and I guess the program's got lost somehow. And the old program I need, and they told me I needed to call in and ask you, is you, about 3 or 4 years ago, you had a guy on that told you an alternative way to register a car or a vehicle other than going through and getting the license plates the way you normally do. I was wondering if you remember him and if you could tell me what that program is or have him back on.
It was one of the callers, and what he had done is he had gone down and got a salvage title.
Salvage?
Salvage title.
But can you do that with a new car? Or a used car that isn't salvaged?
Well, the other way is if it's a brand new car, and you're going to pay cash for it, you can demand from the dealership the MSO, the Manufacturer's Statement of Origin, which is the true title. So,
okay. But you have to pay cash?
Yes, you can't take a loan out because then you've covenanted with the beast.
Okay, so if you pay cash and you get this manufacturer's of origin?
Statement of origin.
Statement of origin. Then how do you get the license plate without having to pay every year the trick that they play on us?
You don't. You get you somebody to make you up a plate that says private property and put the VIN number on there.
Really?
Really. And then you need to be well educated on to defend it then.
Well, so I'm hoping that from this conversation maybe I can get a copy of that if they still have it. I thought they told me that, they had a meltdown and they lost a lot of stuff.
Yes.
Could you try and have this person on one more time?
I'll go back through my notes and see if I can find it.
Okay, thank you. I won't take any more of your time, but if I were down there, boy, I'd be raising HELL. And thank goodness this woman that's on the program today has got some guts.
Well,
anyway, I'm holding out up here as long as I can. They've threatened us with shutoffs during the coldest part of the winter. They have a right to put a meter on my house. They don't have a right to put a meter on my house that'll kill me. So there were 20 of us, but when they showed up with the armed cops, 17 caved. There's only 3 of us left, so we don't have any numbers anymore. We're just sitting out here, and I'm a senior citizen, When I was 40, I probably could have lived without heat and water and electricity a lot better than I can now. I'm in my 60s. It's not as fun as it used to be. I'll let you go and keep listening to Kimmy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie. We got another caller. Who we got?
This is Marquet calling from Greeley, and I wanted to ask Kimmy Lewis, what was the name of the group or the company that moved in next to Representative Cory Gardner's office?
That's Canyon and Plains.
Canyon, Canyon.
And Plains.
And A-N-D?
Yes.
And Plain?
Plains.
Plains?
Yes.
Canyon and Plains.
There's the Canyons and Plains office as well as the Palmer Land Trust. And they moved in right next to Corey Gardner's office in Rocky Ford, Colorado.
Palmer. What was it? Palmer Land?
Palmer Land Trust.
Land Trust.
Mm-hmm.
And that company is where? What town?
They're in Rocky Ford, Colorado.
Rocky Ford.
Mm-hmm.
They're all over the place, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
So now, both of these folks are Agenda 21, correct?
Yes, well, they're pushing Agenda 21. The Palmer Land Trust sells conservation easements, which is all part of Agenda 21. And then the Canyons and Plains is the group that's trying to push the National Heritage Area over an 8-county region down here.
Okay. So they're doing they're doing wildlands, right?
Canyon and Plains? The Wildlands Project, yes. And they're
the Wildlands, and I've heard all about that fiasco.
Yes.
Wildlands. Wildlands what?
It's just the Wildlands Project.
Project, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's all part of Agenda 21.
Okay. And their office up here, is that concerning Weld County?
I don't know if they've got one in Weld County. I know...
Well, Canyon Plains, so we're Greeley. That's Weld County.
Okay.
The Canyons and Plains is part of... There used to be called the Southeast Colorado Economic Task Force. And they started out as Economic Development, and then they call it the Southeast Colorado Heritage Task Force, but now they've just changed it to Canyons and Plains. And that's just the group headed up by Rick Manzanares, just to get this is all just to get this National Heritage Area done here in southeast Colorado. Up in Weld County at Greeley, you would have something similar, but it's probably a different name. But, of course, one of their partners is the Nature Conservancy, and they're everywhere.
Okay, so Nature Conservancy is a partner with Wildlands Project, right?
Well, yes, they were one of the big groups that helped to implement the Wildlands Project, but there was actually 500 different entities that helped push through the Wildlands Project. But the Nature Conservancy is a big player here, and they don't want anyone to know that. They want everybody to think that they're the good guys that wear the white hats. They don't want anybody to think that they're the bad ones that take our rights away.
Good grief. I tell you, with all the different names they're coming up with, how do you keep track of these leeches?
Well, that's the thing. But when you really research them, it's just kind of like the Colorado Cattlemen's Ag Land Trust. When you research that, how it started in 1995, there were like 200 and some odd people that helped to get it started by donations. 70-some% of those 220-some names were all partners or were all members of the Nature Conservancy here in Colorado. So it was the Nature Conservancy in Colorado that helped get this land trust going. And so they just have all these other little land trusts around, and that's how they get it done.
Oh, man.
We have a real question of jurisdiction here. How can this group of people decide over your private property what's going to happen to it? They have no jurisdiction.
It was the National Historical, the Heritage Act I'm not saying the right word, and I don't have the number in front of me, Randy. They put together, and this was quite a few years ago, and I'm sure Dr. Kaufman could have probably cited it exactly. When I go and Google his American land policy, you'll learn about this act that got implemented. Well, with that act came all this stuff, all this bad stuff, and that's how they swear up and down that they can do it, and they'll put you in that. First option is we just want to fight it strong enough, Randy, to keep them from putting it over top of us. Second option is to find out a way to take parcels out, and there is a way to do that in the National Register. We are exploring those options too, but the very first thing was for them to realize that we are saying no, very strong no, get out, go somewhere else, and they will. Rick Manzanares will take his pack up his suitcase and his show. He's the one that helped put the one over in the San Luis Valley together. He'll go somewhere else. He'll be hired. I'm sure he gets a big wage. He'll be hired to go tell lies about how the National Park Service doesn't have anything to do with it, and he'll go do that somewhere else. But it just takes strong-minded and strong backbone people just to say no.
Kimmy, what was the name of that act that you mentioned?
It was the National I think it was the Heritage Act. I'm sorry, I don't have that right in front of me. I should have gathered that up out of my briefcase. And it actually came about in the early 2000s, or actually maybe the late 1990s. But it's the Historic Preservation Act. I'm sorry, Historic Preservation Act is what it is.
Preservation Act.
And that's how they do it. Then Congress uses that act to declare the heritage area. So it takes our congressmen and women to take this forward. And when we found the minutes of the Kiowa County commissioners, we found the minutes of 2012 where a staffer from Congressman Gardner's stated that he was working with Udall, with Senator Udall, to help put forth a national heritage area in southeast Colorado to give us more exposure. Our hearts just sank. But I knew something was up whenever those groups moved in there right next to Congressman Gardner. So it's scary, let me tell you.
Good grief. So it's Udall is working with, or Corey Gardner's working with Udall.
Yes,
right?
on this here. And I don't think Corey Gardner would like people to know that.
Well,
he's just now put his hand up to now run against Udall. But we found those old documents, those old minutes, and those things like that in print don't lie. And he has a lot to answer for. But I knew that there was something up, and it just scares me to death. We have all of these elected officials that swear up and down they're conservative people from rural areas, and they're here to work for us. And then when you find this out, it just makes us sick, because we really need real people to stand up and help us, and we don't need this. This is one of the worst things that's ever happened to Colorado.
Kimmy, that document that proves Udall and Gardner are affiliated on this, that was the Kiowa County what?
Kiowa County Commissioners meeting.
Commissioners meeting.
Yeah, you could just go there and find it. It's like 2 years ago.
Caller, thanks for calling. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we're back. Kimmy Lewis, my guest today. You can find out more on their Facebook page. Go to Southeast Colorado Private Property Rights Council. Southeast Colorado Private Property Rights Council. Find out more updates, meetings, and hopefully have a website up here before too long. Let you know what's going on. We've got another caller online. Who we got?
This is Amy.
Hello, Amy.
Yeah, isn't this a done deal? I mean, who are you going to sound off to? Some consensus chamber?
Actually, the county commissioners.
Yeah, Amy, it'll be the county commissioners that we'll be leaning on. It was Dr. Kaufman was on the call last week, and he said, they really have to have those county commissioners in favor to make this go forward, because they have to have documentation to prove that the people want this. So, no, it's not a done deal, and we've fought these battles before, and we firmly believe that we can keep this from happening.
So the county commissioners are all that stands between you and a natural heritage
yeah.
area designation.
Yep.
It seems to me the biggest ticket item is the mineral rights. And are there still Spanish land grants down there?
Yes.
So those people would stand to lose them. And also there are statutory towns down there, such as Kim and Los Animas.
I just live right north of Kim, about 30 miles. Yes, all of that would be lost, but yes, it's the county commissioners. There's 3 in each county, times 8 counties. That's 24 people that are going to make this happen. So what's happening, Amy, is each chapter of the Southeast Colorado Private Property Rights Council is determining how they want to best go forward. I believe it's the Crowley County chapter that has decided to go with a petition to the county commissioners and get like 1,500 names on the petition showing that they're not in favor. Every group is doing it just a little bit different, every county.
Well, with those mineral rights lost, your water rights are also just going to be, forget it.
Yeah.
Because once the frackers come in, your water rights are null.
Right. Yeah, they'll take it all with this designation.
We've got Governor Frackenlooper now.
Oh yeah.
But that's what they're finding out over in what's that other place? Escalante. The frackers are coming in with no regard for people's property or water rights.
Well, the Nature Conservancy and the environmental groups down here have formed together with this group called Canyons and Plains, along with Rocky Mountain Farmers Union. But anyway, they basically are environmentally taking away our ability to do any drilling. And around Pinyon Canyon, Amy, there is one area for sure that is even called the Helium Dome. Our country is short on helium, and there's a huge reserve of helium there, and we can't get anything done. Basically, well, we just need to have different leadership here in Colorado, but we're chock full of minerals, and I firmly believe that's why they want to control us, that's why they're still after us, and why they wanted it. They wanted it in fee title to start with, but now they just want to control us.
Yeah, look up Dianne Feinstein and mineral rights. And it seems like the big shots get to go in here and suck out all the minerals they please.
Well, that's probably true, yeah. And if we're not big shots,
they'll ruin your private property in the process because they need all that water. And then I was reading that to the north of you in Kiowa County or somewhere, they've had some sort of a gusher that indicates that there's going to be a lot of fracking going on. And there's not hardly any water out there to speak of anyway.
No, we don't. And
so I guess it's at the cost of the grading.
Yeah, the drought, it's even worse than before. But, yeah, it's a scary world, but for some reason our federal government sure wants to control this whole corner of southeast Colorado, and they think there's just not enough of us out here, which is true. We're very sparsely populated. But
well, I think people have a misimpression of the place, too, because it's a lot of canyon land. And I went down there shooting once. It was beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. I live in a canyon, yes.
Yeah. It's not like just flat plains.
No, it's not like any other part of Colorado, and most people, Amy, don't even realize what we look like down here. Whenever I tell them I've been out burning cactus for the cattle, they think I'm kind of strange because they don't realize we have these huge tree cactus here, and you can actually burn the stickers off, and it's really good feed.
Well, maybe somebody up in northern Colorado should organize a junket to go down there.
Well, and, that's an idea. I know that we used to have our own little state representative by the name of McKinley, Wes McKinley, and he did several tours. He did several riding tours, Amy, in Pinyon Canyon, where you could bring your horse and come and ride, or he'd fix you up with a horse or whatever. And he did that several times, and he was very helpful. He was a good person to help us to keep our private property rights. But he's term limited out, and we're down to these 24 county commissioners to decide.
And another thing was, I remember there were Spanish ranches.
Yes.
With, Spanish gates, and I thought, wow, I bet those go all the way back to the land grant.
Well, they were here before.
Possibly.
Yeah, they were here before any other people, all along the Purgatory River, and the little community of Higbee. There's a lot of history there, but this heritage area, and what they do is they use our history, they use our heritage, they use our want to preserve things, and turn that around in a kind of a twisted way to take away our property rights. I believe if we want to preserve something, let's make enough money so we can go out there and preserve it. I could afford to hire someone to help me put cement on that homestead and keep that homestead intact, but not worry about the government doing it for me. I mean, the government shouldn't be in that place. It should be us doing it on our own ranches if that's what we want to do. Because if people get in there, they're just going to tear it up anyway. They've done that on all the parks, and our government can't even keep up with their parks. They can't even take care of the federal land that they have. They don't need any more.
Yeah, that's one of the issues is that the national parks can't even take care of their parks.
No, and now they think that they're going to get more area to watch over or hire more federal government employees. That's the last thing that we need. We need to keep private property private and keep it on the tax rolls, but we need to find a way to make a living, and we just need everybody to back off southeast Colorado and leave us alone.
Well, give out the name of those county commissioners before you go away.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amy. Thanks for calling. We'll be right back. And we're back. Kimmy Lewis, my guest. You can find out more the battle over this National Heritage Area here in southeast Colorado. You can go to Facebook, and it's Southeast Colorado Private Property Rights Council. Southeast Colorado Private Property Rights Council. Kimmy, you mentioned a term called coordination. Just what is this?
Coordination is where a group of people demand that all of the players in any type of a takings have to sit down and coordinate with you. In other words, with this particular instance, with this heritage area, the Southeast Colorado Private Property Rights, actually it wouldn't be us. It would have to be an entity that has that gets paid. So it would have to be a school board. Say it could be the Kim School Board. The Kim School Board They don't get paid, but they deal with money. So they're the type of board that could use coordination. They could demand a meeting with the National Park Service, the Department of Interior, all the players, the Nature Conservancy, the Rocky Mountain Bird Observatory, all the NGOs, plus Rocky Mountain Farmers Union, and say, hey, we are planning a coordination meeting, and we demand your presence at this meeting. Well, to discuss the National Heritage Areas. Well, in doing that, once those people come, then they are coordinating. Those agencies are coordinating with you. And in all of the acts, the Endangered Species Act, the Federal Land Policy Act, all of the acts have it right in there, the word coordination, that says that federal agencies have to coordinate with local entities. So the Kim School Board could say, by golly, you are hurting our region, you're hurting our school board, and they have to have real reasons. They have to list them, and they have to be real reasons. You will take away children from our school. It will hurt us financially. We will no longer be able to fund our school system because of this heritage area. I mean, you have to list them, but then once they get that, then you are in the coordination process, and you can slow down or stop most land grabs by using coordination. And this was something that came forward from a fellow by the name of Fred Kelly Grant. He worked with Margaret Byfield from the old Stewards of the Range, actually, which is the Wayne Hage's group, Stewards of the Range. Now it's called American Stewards of Liberty, is Margaret Hage Byfield, and she's a daughter of Wayne Hage. But anyway, they put this plan together, and it actually works very slick and is quite a plan. Every county commissioners group needs to know how it works. And I've known several groups of people that have used it and used it successfully.
So we do have a war plan.
Yes. Well, with Pinyon Canyon, Randy, one of the things that was the war plan is try it all. And we all did something just a little bit different. I mean, the Colorado Independent Cattle Growers, our plan was to expose the Nature Conservancy for being a partner with the Army compatible use buffers. Not One Acre sued the Army. They brought them to a lawsuit. Every group did something just a little bit different, but mainly, yes, our war plan was to try it all. And we did that not willing sellers affidavit. That worked very successfully, proving that we weren't for sale. Even the map that showed we completely encompassed Pinyon Canyon with people that were not willing to sell, with the affidavits and on the map. And I mean, that was a very successful campaign.
Yeah, and you can drive the back roads here, down here in southeastern Colorado, Highway 160, Highway 10, the highway you're on, and the signs are all out there. This land not for sale.
That's right. Army. Yeah, and it all worked. It all worked very effectively, but it took other people too, not just Southeast Colorado residents, because we don't have that many. It took people from in your area, and it's just like Amy said. We should probably post those county commissioners' names because you know what, people from up at Loveland or up in your area, Randy, for northern Colorado, would want to help us, and it's going to take all of us to fight this, to fight Agenda 21.
Well, absolutely. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're moving at breakneck speed to get this done. I mean, and
like I said, I think they're in a hurry. They had announced that it would take up to 10 years, but the documents that we're finding, they've already been at it for 4 or 5. So, and this is people not even knowing that they were doing that. So, it has been a lot of backdoor, behind closed door type scheming and strategizing, planning. It's just been unreal. So we intend to get those documents, and then we'll go forward from that. But we'll try to get more stuff listed on our Facebook page, and then get that website up and running so we can get others to help us.
We need that. But so the coordination part of this, have you hit the county commissioners with this yet?
No, I've talked to a few county commissioners that know about coordination that have, in fact, I've sat right next to several that went to some of the trainings. I've been to several trainings, but and they know that it works. But no, we haven't gone to that avenue yet. We have quite a few people in our Southeast Colorado Private Property Rights Council that are unaware of coordination. So it's just a learning curve, which is good for all of us. And it's just really important to find out what's going on in your county and how knowledgeable your county commissioners are as to what their power is. I remember Dr. Kaufman saying last week that in the Range magazine, the last 2 editions, he's had a really nice articles on Agenda 21 explaining how it all works and how it affects all of us. So there's a lot of tools out there. It's not hidden anymore. Of course, it really never was hidden. We just didn't pick up on all the buzzwords, the sustainability, all of that until, now that it's hitting home here in Southeast Colorado. I'll guarantee I talk Agenda 21 to everyone I see.
And your neighbors are all awake.
We hope so.
We'll be right back, finish off today's show here on the American Freedom Network. And we're back with the closing minutes of today's show. Randy Yarbrough with you, my guest, Kimmy Lewis. You can find out more, stay up on top of this. Go to Facebook, and it's Southeast Colorado Private Property Rights Council. Southeast Colorado Private Property Rights Council. And Congressman Gardner, that's right up in your Greeley there, folks. Nothing that says that he won't decide that, we need to institute all of the Buffalo Commons on all you folks up north there. Let him know that he's not representing you. Call him. Call him up and say, no. Withdraw any support to this heritage area. Because, remind him of the purpose of government out of the Declaration to protect those rights, and that's your private property rights. Remind him of that. Or send him down the road. Has he been in any town hall meetings, Kimmy?
No, he hasn't. We just found those minutes not too long ago, and we know that his staffer here in Rocky Ford has been pushing for the heritage area. In fact, she's been mailing out brochures and things in favor of the heritage area. So we know there's a reason why, they moved in right next to his office. But it just really scary. And, now he's going to run for U.S. Senate. But anyway, we need people to let Congressman Gardner know that this is a bad deal, that the National Heritage Area is Agenda 21, and maybe he needs a booklet in studying what Agenda 21 is. I'm not real sure.
Either that or who's he working for? The United Nations?
Yeah, no kidding. I think there's been a lot of backroom deals going on here in the last few weeks and months, but it just concerns us because, if he thinks he's going to stay elected or get elected by rubbing elbows with these NGOs, these environmentalists. Actually, the Nature Conservancy isn't even an environmental group. They're a real estate group. And if he thinks that by being their buddy is going to help him get reelected and stay elected,